right, AP World History students, this is key concept 1.2. We're in that first time period that's 8,000 BC to 600 BC. And I'm going to show you exactly what we need to know for this key concept, because sometimes in your textbooks, this one can span several chapters, but we can really highlight the most important things in just a few minutes. Let's jump in. Key concept 1.2 is all about the Neolithic Revolution. Neolithic literally means new stone, Neolithic. This is different than Paleolithic, which is Old Stone Age. So in the Neolithic Revolution, this is where humans develop agriculture. This is maybe the most important development in all of human history. And this is for a lot of reasons that I've just kind of listed out here. As soon as humans have agriculture, a lot of things are going to change because they have more food. If you're going to remember anything in all of world history, more food equals more people, always. So when there's agriculture, because humans are domesticating plants and animals, and they're adjusting water, right, using irrigation to change water channels to make sure that you're not just waiting for rain, you can farm whenever you want. Because of all of these things, the population in the whole world is going to increase. Okay? With more food, more people can survive. You can have more children, they will survive for longer. You're also going to see a specialization of labor. That's a really important piece there because not everyone has to be a farmer. Some people will be in charge of food, but others can learn other skills like pottery, like blacksmith, like anything. All the other things that exist in society happen because we have time to do it. And so specialization of labor will lead to all kinds of new technologies and tools and trade, all kinds of things. The next thing is that there's a lot of improvement with trade and transportation because of that specialization. So in this early time period, we don't get too much into the specifics of the trade routes, but there's a lot of trade going on with all of these early civilizations. And that's because they have enough food to trade. They have better transportation to get further with their resources. And so all of these different trade networks are really starting to develop here. And finally is a big change because of wealth. As there's more food, people start to own more things, whether they have more food themselves, more property, more money, because of all the trade that's happening. All that different wealth, though, is going to start to lead to social stratification. That's where you've got people at the top of a pyramid, of a social pyramid, and people at the bottom. It could be rich and poor. It could be men and women. It could be the rulers and the slaves. There's a lot of different ways that you are going to start to see social stratification. But all of this is because of farming. Before farming, human societies were pretty equal. So let's talk a quick minute about whether or not the Neolithic Revolution was actually a good thing for human society. There's kind of a debate that happens here between historians. One in particular would be Jared Diamond that says this was the worst mistake that we ever made. Whereas a lot of other historians will look back at this transition and be like, yes, thank goodness we have agriculture because otherwise we wouldn't exist in the way that we do now. So for example, it's awesome that the population increased because then we have cities, we have civilizations, right? With more people, we have more to show for it. We have more resources. But on the other hand, because all of these cities, because you have people living close together, you also have a lot more disease. And that's obviously not good, right? People are healthier without disease. So that would be one example of that wasn't a good thing. Another example of something that was good was the domestication of plants and animals meant that we have better nutrition. Humans were healthier. Except that the domestication of plants and animals also led to really harming the environment because we're now having, a say in the resources that we want. We don't just have to go look for them. We're domesticating them in our home. Then we're also harming the environment through deforestation and desertification. That's, ruining the soil. Another good reason of agriculture was new technologies. New technologies, new tools, new ways of life that made life easier. Except that those tools also led to increased conflict and warfare. Those early human foragers don't fight each other the same way as agrarian societies do, because they don't have the same tools and they don't have the same idea of ownership. And so now that we're in a development of agriculture, now we have war. And then finally is specialization of labor. We talked about this before. It's awesome. You need people to be creating pottery. You need people to do art. You need people to do all kinds of different things. Except that as soon as you do, you also are saying goodbye to egalitarian societies and hello to social stratification. Now we've got an actual hierarchy, and that's not so good, because then there's always people on the bottom, and a lot of issues in our society stem from that. So a few more things in key concept 1.2. This is just the idea of first permanent settlements. One of the very first cities that we know about is actually called Catalhayuk. Although cities are kind of interesting because they do appear at different times. Whenever a society is developing agriculture, you'll see cities right after. But there are cities all around the world. All of them, though, are generally near rivers or some type of water source. And that's for obvious reasons. Farming takes water. Even if you're irrigating the water, it's still a lot easier to live a lot closer to it. So here's a quick little image of what Catalhayuk look like. It's a lot different than current cities. They more built on top of each other and very close to each other. Even their houses had doors on the top. So early cities looked quite different than today's cities, but they're very similar too. There's a lot of people, there's hustle and bustle, people are moving around. And then don't forget, because they're living so close together, disease will spread more rapidly as well. And then the other thing is just a quick map to show you where these early civilizations sprung up. So remember, all of them are by water. All of them are, generally kind of close to the equator. And that's because of the climate there, right? You can kind of see this like section in the middle of the earth where that's where the early civilizations existed. But they're all over the world. They're at different times. And honestly, a lot of them didn't always know that the other ones existed, which means that this pattern of development is not unique to any one place. No one group of people was more specialized than the other. Human society really follows a similar pattern of development wherever you are. So that's key concept 1.2. A quick exam tip here is that a multiple choice or short answer question about the Paleolithic, Neolithic Revolution is something that you might see. You also could see something around the agricultural revolution, especially as you could compare it to later developments of equal significance, like industrialization, right? In both cases, we have a complete shift in how we live, and it's for better and worse, and you could compare that. So that's something else I wanted to point out to you. So stick around. I've got one more video coming up for 1.3, just to talk all about some of these early societies and exactly what we have to know about all of them, because it's not 30 pages for each one. So stick around. I'll see you then. Thanks for watching this Fiveable review. Be sure to hit subscribe for more AP content and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ThinkFiveable.